Hello, everyone out there. Welcome to our Edible Bites class that we are presenting today. And we are here talking about the multifaceted world of zucchini and cucumber. And so much to be said, you know, I mean, here we are doing this tiny little bit, and these are truly some of the most multifaceted vegetables we have that are kind of every day in our refrigerator and ready to be utilized in multiple ways. And of course, Mary Sheila Gonnella here is joining me as we co-teach all things in our edible Ayurveda courses. And really, as we look at this, let's just take a moment, Mary Sheila, to kind of just say, what do we love? Like, just let's start with like, what do we love about these foods? And I know for me, one of the things I love about zucchini is I can cook it, I can do raw, you know, I can throw flavor into it and it'll collect any flavor I bring to the table. So I can spice up a zucchini and I can take it to almost any culture around the world and be able to infuse it into a meal from breakfast to lunch to dinner. And how about you? What is one of your favorite things?
Well, one thing I will say about zucchini and cucumber, and well, maybe we're just talking about zucchini, is I love, right now I just pulled this one out of the garden, and I have to say I love how prolific they are.
Oh.
And this one actually kind of just looks like the common one you can get at the market. We've got a couple kinds right now. I love what you said. I love how they really take on the flavor. Right now, because they're in season and sometimes they get away from me and they get kind of big, I've been slicing them thin and putting them on the barbecue or just in the oven. And I also love making noodles with them, which we are actually going to do a live little cooking show in a couple weeks. And you can find out about it by staying connected to us. But I'm gonna make zucchini noodles, which is my all-time favorite. You know, I'm married to an Italian who loves his pasta, and I'm not as much of a pasta girl anymore on my nutritional health journey. And so I love making zucchini noodles. So he does make a great sauce, and then I can just add my zucchini noodles, and it's so satisfying to me. I just love them. I love making them, like you said, like pad thai or maybe Italian or however we're going to make them. And I am going to show you how to make a zucchini noodle saute when we do our cooking show. So yeah,
I'll be doing cucumber. So let's talk a moment about what we love about the cucumber. In that episode, when we do the cooking demos, I'll be making a sunomono. So we'll be going to Japan. And we'll really look at like, how do you embody that Asian Japanese flavor into the cucumber? And it just really is so refreshing and clean. And both of these foods are very high electrolyte content. If you really think about it, when you eat either one of these, there's a salty finish. And they're just full of the magnesium, potassium, chloride, and healthy sodium that binds and helps you break down calcium. And so and really uptake calcium. So these are foods that are really cooling. If we're going to look at the elemental picture, they're both in that idea of anti-inflammatory, cooling in nature, hydrating. So you've got cooling, hydrating. Why do they come out in the summer? Because the summer is hot and dry. And so we need foods that actually provide us the opposite and allow us to keep that balancing act. And so perfect summer foods, even though I find myself being dry pretty much year round, whether that be from stress or, you know, whatever. So I do find these to be really good foods for all year round, just as that nice little, you know, cooling agent. It's, you know, I think of them as a glass of water in my meal, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. They are so wet. They're so hydrating. And so they can really replenish the body when we need that. And they're really high in vitamin K, which is great because that's a great vitamin that's really essential for the gut microbiome. We can make a little bit of vitamin K2 from it, and it helps with our blood being able to clot properly. And you know, they're both actually in the same family as pumpkins. And there's a really cool thing around farming too, where you can plant your corn and your beans and your squash all together. And the really nice thing about the planting any kind of squash or, you know, zucchini, cucumber is they provide the shade. They're so big and they spread and they've got these big leaves when they're growing. I guess I'm just talking about the growing because I've got them both in the garden right now. And it's just really fun to watch them, you know.
Well, there's something about that gardening. I mean, like, okay, I got this zucchini yesterday at a store I love, but look at your zucchini. Look how shiny.
Yeah.
And how much smoother. I mean, let's remember that is directly out of the garden right this second. Like she hightailed it over there to grab it. You can feel the energy. Like literally when I saw yours, I felt that fresh, clean energy straight from the garden, though I'm gonna love this when I eat it. But there's just something to be said for like when you go to even buy these vegetables in the store, or if you're growing them, you're going to eat what you know, hopefully you're going to eat everything and give the rest away. But in a store, I really am looking at something and I'm wanting to see if I can see that shine and that brightness and the energy coming off that food. And, you know, I needed cilantro yesterday when I was also at the store, but it did not show me healthy vibration. And I just said, no, I'm going to use something else tonight in this meal. I'm not going to buy that cilantro because it just didn't, you know, give me that, oh. And that's what we want from our food, because then that's how it's going to translate to your body. So, you know, really, I just kind of could not deny that I saw the energy in that zucchini straight out of your garden, you know? And you want to think about these things. The energy you put in, you know, is everything, you know. So another thing, I want to just say a little, and we'll see what you have to say, but I want to talk about cucumber for one moment because it won't be covered in the cooking episode. It was a real aha moment for me. There is a beautiful vegetable stew called sambar, S-A-M-B-A-R, in India. It's really common in the South. And it's got this like silky, beautiful texture, but there's obviously no cream or anything in there. And they pressure cook it down, and, you know, vegetables, spices, water, pressure cook, 10 minutes, boom, you got sambar. But the main ingredient of sambar and what makes it that texture that it is they cook a lot of cucumber in India. And I find in our culture, we don't cook. I mean, someone might even be like, what? You can't cook that. And I just really want to have everyone think about exploring the idea of taking a food that you only know is raw and cooking it. And just see how much it creams up and kind of really builds nourishment in a sauce or a meal. And the same thing with zucchini. Zucchini isn't, it's great cooked and we know it cooked, but if you haven't grated zucchini on a salad, so what I'll do is I'll grate the zucchini raw, I'll make a whole pile on my salad, and then I pour my dressing into it. It kind of captures all that sauce. And then instead of it being at the bottom of my salad, it really blends that salad in.
You're making
so
fun.
these are both foods that you might want to think cooked or raw being the opposite of what you already are familiar with.
And what's nice to think about zucchini raw, and just as a side note, sometimes I'll make hummus. I'll make a zucchini hummus. So instead of using garbanzo beans, I'll just cut up a whole zucchini. If it's a real big one, I'll take the seeds out so it's not as watery, and then I'll just use that as my beans. But when you use the zucchini raw, you're going to preserve the vitamin C content of that vegetable, and you're also going to preserve a lot of the B vitamins. When you cook it, which we usually do, it's not a bad thing, but we will lose some of those B vitamins. They can't hold up to the heat. But we will also then, by keeping them raw, we're going to gain all those Bs, and we're going to keep that C in there. So it really is. I'm so glad you brought that up. Just that idea around, like, how can we just have a little change up that's not the same way we always do it? And and like cooking cucumber, we just don't think that way, and that sounds, and I think I've had it with you. I can't really remember what it tastes like.
I made a sambar one time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and that's the other thing with the cucumbers, is they also absorb so much as well as the flavor. I mean, sometimes you don't need to do anything but maybe like a little lime and salt or whatever, and you just sumac or anything like that. But yeah, it really is. They really are so versatile. And I love what you said about, putting them in your salad, but putting your dressing into them. I actually made a little zucchini bread last night as well, just because, they're in abundance right now.
That's one of my favorite. We were just talking about that. Scott's like, oh, banana bread. And I said, actually, I'm more of a zucchini bread kind of girl. I was like, there's something about that salty and sweet together that just moves me more than going sweeter, And in that, why do we put these in, or why can we put these in a bread, is because of the fiber content. So these are both, cucumber and zucchinis are really high fiber. They're digestible fiber. And we want to keep in mind that dietary fiber is what binds toxins and excess in the gut and allows it to accumulate, which is what becomes our fecal matter, our stool. And it helps to then make sure it has the weight and the texture, the smoothness that is needed to pull that down and through with gravity and get those toxins out of our body. Yeah. So they're great in that vitamin K and the building blocks of the microbiome, but they're also going to be something that I know are kind of sopping up any toxicity or acidic gaseous waste in my body and helping me to get it out. Absolutely. So, these are very reliable foods, both of them, for the person who feels more constipated, or you feel like you're bloating a lot and there's a whole bunch going on in there and you just can't quite get it all out, which can also be mucus, not just feeling plugged up, So if you feel like you got a little excess, this is going to help to pull it out. And if you do feel like you have a little bit of some constipation, I always call it the log jam. So if you got a little log jam going on, this would go in and like nourish it enough where it could move through.
Absolutely. And I think, when we talk about constipation or anything like that, we're talking about a drier picture. And, these are carbohydrates, and these are probably some of the most hydrating carbohydrates out there, especially the cucumber. I mean, it's so wet. So, that's another part of the story, is you need the fiber, but you also need the hydration to keep things moving, right? So, if there's not a lot of flow in a river, it's just going to be, there's going to be a log jam, and then we need more water to come through to move everything along. So that is exactly what these have to offer, which is so exciting. So in our next time that we get together, we are going to be cooking and making, you're going to be making the cucumber. Yes, and I'm going to be making a zucchini dish. So we want to invite you to join us for that next time we get together. So stay tuned for that. And and this has been fun, DeAnna, talking about cucumber and zucchini. And we'll look forward to talking again soon. And every month we're going to highlight some different foods. We're going to talk about them and kind of geek out on the science, which is what DeAnna and I love to do. We actually teach a online edible Ayurveda course, which is, you know, really brings together whole food nutrition and Ayurvedic concepts and really brings it together. So we dive deep into food as medicine and the best foods for you and how foods act in the body. And then we go all through the digestive tract. So it's a really comprehensive, amazing course that we've been teaching. You know, we keep refining.
8 modules, 2 different kind of play on courses. So each one is 8 modules. So you could really be with us for the full 16 modules and just imagine what you would have at the end of that program. That goes from like the tasty bites of things you need to know all the way through to like every one of the organs, the symptoms, and the remedies. So we're going to be taking you through, you know, a full 16-course meal. And we hope you join us for that and on these monthly classes. Yeah. So yeah, Mary Sheila, I could talk to you all day long. I love teaching with you.
Yeah, yeah, DeAnna and I, yeah, we've had a great time teaching. We've been teaching the edible Ayurveda or versions of it for about the last 5 years, and it's been great. She's been my teacher, and then I went off and taught for a long time, and kind of came back and said, hey, you know, let's do something together because we both love to teach, and I think we complement each other really well. So
well, I knew I had a lot to learn from you too, so now we're just colleagues. So continue joining us for all of these lovely classes, and we will see you soon with a cooking demo.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, DeAnna.
Adios.